Welcome back to Myth Mode, the channel where legends evolve and hidden lore becomes crystal clear. Today, we're diving into the exciting news that could change the God of War franchise forever. Amazon, Santa Monica Studio, and PlayStation Productions are teaming up for a live-action adaptation that's not just a movie, and what it means for the games is massive. Stick around, because we're breaking down exactly what this adaptation will do to the future of Kratos' story. All right, before we get into wild theories, let's nail down what's actually confirmed. This isn't rumor. This is real. PlayStation Productions and Amazon Prime have officially greenlit a God of War live-action adaptation. It's happening. It's approved. It's in development right now. Here's what we know for certain. 1. The story begins in the Norse era. We're talking Kratos in Midgard, the father-son dynamic with Atreus, and the Norse gods as antagonists. It matches the exact tone and structure of the 2018 reboot. 2. Cory Barlog and Santa Monica Studio aren't just consulting, they're directly involved. This isn't some Hollywood studio guessing at what God of War is. The people who made the modern games are steering this ship. 3. This is multi-episode Amazon series, not a compressed 2-hour movie. We're talking The Last of Us, The Witcher, House of the Dragon level of format, which means they can actually tell the story properly. Now, video game adaptations have been hit or miss, but God of War? It's different. The games are cinematic, they're emotional, they're brutal, they respect mythology, and they're deeply character-driven, which means this adaptation has actual potential to be incredible. We've seen this work before. The Last of Us adaptation was massive. Cyberpunk, Edgerunners boosted that game's reputation. Castlevania became a legitimate Netflix phenomenon, and all of them sent waves back to their source material. So imagine what happens when God of War, one of PlayStation's biggest franchises, gets that same treatment. The success of the show could push the entire franchise into a completely new era. And here's the thing, that's not just hype, that's strategy. Let's talk about the real impact. Because this adaptation isn't just entertainment. It's a calculated move by PlayStation to evolve the entire franchise. First, successful shows bring massive attention, new audiences, more merchandise, more money flowing back into Sony's pockets. And you know what that means for the games? Bigger worlds, more cinematic cutscenes, larger teams, longer development cycles, potentially more playable characters. The entire production value just gets elevated. Second, the games and the show won't be identical, but they'll reinforce each other. The series is going to dig deep into Kratos' trauma, his redemption arc, fatherhood, the humanity beneath the gods. Future games will match that tone. Why? Because Sony wants people who discover God of War through the show to jump into the games, and vice versa. It's all connected. Third, and this is huge, PlayStation is building a shared brand universe. They've got The Last of Us game and show. Horizon is getting a series. Ghost of Tsushima is getting a movie. Twisted Metal adaptation is happening. God of War will be the centerpiece of all of it. We're not just talking about one game series anymore. We're talking about a God of War multiverse, cross-media lore, stories that fill gaps between games, character backstories explored in different mediums, mythology teased in the show and expanded in the next game. This could turn God of War from a game series into an entire universe. Finally, if the show is a hit, it's going to influence the direction of the next game. Kratos could become even more grounded and introspective. Atreus will probably play a way larger role. Freya's character will expand. New pantheons might be teased in both the show and the game simultaneously. The storytelling could shift toward balancing jaw-dropping action with genuine emotional depth. And honestly, that's something the games are already perfect at. Here's the thing about adaptations. They can't be one-to-one copies of the game. And that's actually good for us. A TV series has time and flexibility that a game doesn't. So expect things we've never seen before. More Kratos backstory, extended flashbacks to Greece, Deimos and Calliope, how Kratos actually arrived in Midgard. The show can expand lore the game only hints at. Faye finally gets her moment. In the games, Faye is a mystery woman, In the series, she becomes a full character, an emotional centerpiece, a storyteller. We might get entire episodes focused on her, and that's going to change how players view her in future games. Norse mythology goes deeper. The show has time. It can introduce minor gods we've never seen, new creatures, realms beyond what the game showed us, political drama within Asgard, Freya's actual history as Queen of the Valkyries. All of this enriches the world for future games. Atreus gets real focus. In the 2018 game, it's Kratos' story. But in the show, Atreus shares equal screen time. This strengthens his role for potential spin-offs or future sequels. Everything the show does is essentially building the foundation for where the games can go next. Okay, so let's talk about what all this means for the next actual God of War game. Because Sony isn't doing this randomly. First, the next game will probably release 1 to 2 years after Season 1. Sony will time it perfectly to ride the hype wave. Cross promotions everywhere. Trailers during show episodes. Marketing synergy. They've done this with The Last of Us, Uncharted, and other franchises. God of War will follow the same playbook. Second, and this is my biggest prediction, the next game might move to a completely new mythology. The show anchors the Norse saga. But the game? It could go somewhere else. Egypt, Celtic pantheon, both even. This separation is genius because the show tells the complete Norse story. The game explores a brand new mythology. God of War grows in TW directions simultaneously. Players get fresh content in both mediums. The franchise has already done this once. Greek to Norse. Now, expect Norse to something bigger. Third, if the show makes Atreus a fan favorite, and it will, Sony will absolutely greenlight an Atreus-led game. It's marketing gold. A protagonist who bridges the old and new saga, his own journey, his own mythology to explore. The show essentially primes audiences for this. Fourth, this adaptation opens a door to something massive. God of War becomes a mythology franchise, not just one game series. We're talking Greek prequel shows, Egyptian game spin-offs, animated lore expansions, potentially a full cinematic universe based on world mythology. Sony is clearly building toward this. The adaptation is just the beginning. And here's something cool most people haven't considered. The mask. Remember the multiverse elements introduced in God of War Ragnarok? The mask. The adaptation isn't just telling a story. It's cementing God of War's entire future structure. Now, for this adaptation to actually work, it needs to nail some critical elements. Kratos himself. He has to be stoic, explosive, haunted, but growing. Not cartoonish rage, not soft for fan service. The balance is razor thin, and the casting and writing have to be perfect. The father-son relationship, this is the heart of the entire Norse saga. If the show nails this dynamic, it will be a global phenomenon. If it fumbles it, everything falls apart. Mythology with respect? Norse gods aren't superheroes or villains in the game. They're flawed, complex beings. The show needs to capture Odin's manipulation, Thor's tragedy, Freya's grief, Tyr's wisdom. The game succeeded because of this depth. The show has to maintain it. Get these 3 things right, and the adaptation becomes legendary. Miss any of them, and the whole thing crumbles. Quick question. Is the show going to spoil major plot points from future games? Short answer, no. Santa Monica Studio will coordinate with PlayStation Productions to prevent that. You'll see references, hints, early clues, but not major story reveals that would ruin future titles. The show is built to reinforce the games, not replace them. It fills gaps. It expands lore. It doesn't steal the spotlight from the next game's story. Here's something subtle but important. Whoever gets cast, as Kratos could actually influence the games that come after. We saw this with The Last of Us. The casting and performance influenced how they wrote subsequent game scripts. The tone shifted. The emotional beats got deeper. God of War could follow the same path. If the actor cast, as Kratos becomes iconic, we might see his facial likeness influence character models in future games. His voice acting style could shape how Kratos is performed in future titles. The emotional scenes might get deeper and more nuanced to match what audiences loved about the show. It's a two-way street now. The show influences the games. The games influence the show. Zoom out for a second. Look at what PlayStation is actually building here. They're transforming God of War from a game series into something bigger, a mainstream global mythology brand. In 5 years, we could be looking at multiple TV series, Norse, Egyptian, maybe Greek flashbacks, animated limited series, comic book runs, novels, and novellas, themed games across multiple genres, expanded universe stories we haven't even imagined yet, cross-media lore that connects everything. The adaptation is the catalyst. It's the spark that ignites the entire machine. We're not just getting a show. We're getting a blueprint for God of War's next decade, and potentially a template for how PlayStation handles all of their franchises. We are heading into a golden age of God of War. All right, let's lock in the most likely outcomes of this adaptation. Prediction 1. The series will boost game popularity massively, just like The Witcher and The Last of Us. New players jumping in, revenue increases, mainstream recognition. Prediction 2. The next game moves to a new mythology, probably Egypt. The show anchors Norse. The game goes bold with something fresh. Prediction 3. The show expands the Norse story beyond what the game showed us. More backstory, more character depth, lore we never imagined. Prediction 4. Atreus' role in future games grows exponentially because the show will make him a fan favorite. Sony will capitalize on that with spin-offs and larger roles. Prediction 5. The mask and multiverse concepts become central to God of War's structure, connecting pantheons, creating a cosmic framework for multiple games across multiple mythologies. Prediction 6. God of War stops being just a game series. It becomes a full cross-media franchise. Movies, shows, games, comics, all connected, all building towards something massive. This isn't just an adaptation. This is a transformation. Thanks for diving deep into what this adaptation means for God of War's future. If you're hyped for the series and the next game, drop a like, subscribe to stay updated on God of War news, and let me know in the comments, what mythology do you want to see next? Egypt? Celtic? Something completely new? Until next time, stay mythic,